Okay, welcome back everyone to our podcast. This is Jacques from Two Monkeys on a Microphone, and I'm joined with Ethan. We're both doing well. I'm in bed. Ethan is eating his breakfast. Do you have anything to say, Ethan?
It's a really nice breakfast. I can't believe you called it a pile of what do you say? Oh, it looks like a
I
pile
said
of
that.
Go on, yeah. What do you say?
Nothing, nothing. Anyway, so I'm doing well. Ethan's doing well. He's eating, and we decided to make an episode so that our podcast keeps running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, Friday was kind of a cool day because I got to kind of hang out with one of my colleagues. And anyway, so I was like, hey, he's like, oh, I'm going off to eat lunch. And I'm like, oh, can I join you? So I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I can. Oh, my earbuds just ran out of battery. We maybe have to restart. One
Oh
second.
my goodness, that was such a good intro. No, I'll keep rolling. I don't care.
Just wait one second.
I don't,
I
I don't
can't hear
care.
shit.
I don't care about your stuff, your
Uh,
earbuds. Keep going.
uh, Goodness gracious. Okay. Um, I'm back.
Okay.
Do we cut that part
No, no, no,
out?
no, no. Just keep doing it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So Friday, I was hanging out. My friend said, well, not my friend, my colleague said he's going out to eat.
Sure.
And I said, okay, sure, I'll go on. Can I come along and eat with you?
Mhm.
He's like, yeah. So we biked around, and then we went to this really nice Japanese restaurant, and then I just kept following him for the rest of the day. And eventually he's like, can I go home? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go home with you. So I went home, met his daughters, and his damn hamster bit the shit out of my finger. Look at this.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like anyway. So my finger hurts. That kind of got me thinking about pets. And I know you lost a cat, and I lost a cat. And I was thinking about this hamster and how this hamster is going to be dying very soon.
What?
So I was thinking maybe we can talk about losing animals and the experience of saying goodbye to a very precious animal in the family.
I don't,
Anyway, so why don't you tell us about your experience with animals,
I don't know
Ethan?
how you make that correlation. When we start first, like when we first started this podcast episode, you were like, "Oh yeah, I have this cool code, this cool story that you can make a transition to," and I didn't expect that would be like the hamster story. Like, okay.
I'm
Anyway,
kind of hoping this hamster goes to see, our lost
the
cats very
maker.
soon. Anyway, keep going.
All right. Well, well, where do I even start? I mean, as you already mentioned, the last few years, I lost a few things that I, loved very dearly, and one of those things is my beloved cat. And you also, when you were younger, I believe you told me that stories many times. You also um, lost a cat as well, and I figured, it would be
Mhm.
a good topic to talk on because it's kind of rare to have that sort of opportunity to mention about loss, even though it has such a drastic impact on you and who you are. So I guess that's how we got here. And to begin with a story, I guess. Well, I have a cat, lovely cat. He's
You had a cat. You had a
I
cat.
had a cat, yes. Well, in my heart, I still have it. It doesn't matter.
No, no, no. You had one.
Shut up.
It's past tense.
You devil.
What was the cat's name?
Okay, so I used to have a cat. I didn't think I would like to have a cat that much at the time, but I went to the Facebook marketplace. Well, not marketplace. It was just like a Facebook group where people would like, "Hey, I have this cat. Like, do you want to have it?"
I
Because
see. So you adopted a cat?
I adopted a cat. And like my first impression of Edward was it's a she. She was so dirty, so like she looked like she was in some gang street or something. She's seen
Well,
yeah.
they say that animals reflect their owners.
Well, I hadn't been the owner of her up until that point.
I see. I see.
So
Okay.
so I saw the photo. It was so like it was such a poor baby. Like she looked like she was a little bit wet, like a little dirty, a little bit of eye, a little dirt in her eyes. What do you call that? A thing in your eyes?
Um, I don't know. I'm not an English teacher.
You're literally no, shut up. But anyway,
By the way,
the point is,
they always say
booger.
birds of a feather flock together.
Ah, all right. Say that for yourself.
Okay. Shut up. I'll shut up. Go.
Eye boogers. There we go. That's the word.
Okay.
Anyway, so she wasn't really in a good shape, and I felt really pity for her. So I was like, yep, that's the one. I gotta adopt her. I gotta pick her up, and that's the story of how I had Edward. And she went through with me through a lot of things. I was in school at the time. I was broke. I was sleeping on the floor. And I remember my distinct memory of her was that I would sleep on the floor and she would join me and she would like sit on my stomach. And like she wasn't a big person cat. You know what I mean? Like she didn't like the idea of like me touching her, like or anybody in that regards. But at night I know exactly when and how she's gonna touch me. She's gonna sleep on my stomach, and I'll feel like shit because I feel like something heavy on my stomach. What? No, it's
Okay.
it's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, come on.
Sure.
Okay.
Keep going.
Anyway, and I love that cat dearly. I don't think I love anything more than I love her. In terms of like,
Um,
sure. What do you have to say about it?
can I interject for a second?
Sure.
How did you come up with Edward for the name of your cat?
That's a
I think that's where the real, heart of the story is the meat and potatoes.
It's actually pretty funny. Well, okay, this is a little bit embarrassing, but I thought it was a she. I thought it was a he at first. I thought it was a he
Let's see.
because like when I adopted Edward, she was like this tiny little kitty, and I didn't know a whole lot about cat private parts, I guess.
Sure.
Reproductive parts, yes. So I just assumed that the male parts will grow out, and I didn't know what a female parts would look like, so I just assumed that. Oh, okay, well, and
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. You thought it was a male cat.
yeah.
But still, why Edward? Edward sounds like the stupidest name I've ever heard in my life.
That's funny. Like, that's the point, Like when you name something stupid for a cat, it's adorable. And I think an Edward's just
Sure. I would even consider Woofy a better name than like Edward or like
no offense to
I don't
all,
know, like
no offense to all of the Edwards out there. If your name is Edward and you're listening to this, Jacques lives in Shanghai. You can
Edward's
come over to
fine for a
Shanghai.
person. Edward's fine for a person,
What?
but for an animal, my goodness.
It's perfect.
Of all the names out there, you
It's
chose
goofy.
Edward.
It's goofy. I like it.
Okay. At the end of the day, it's your cat, not my cat. I definitely wouldn't be naming my cat Edward. Goodness.
You have to admit it is a memorable name. Like it's stuck in your head. Or see now all you think about.
I forgot your cat's name until you mentioned it just now. But sure. Edward, the female cat.
Edward,
Very
cat.
slept with you at night.
Mm-hmm.
Kept you company in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there during a very rough period of your life.
Yeah. Very, very rough actually. I went through several breakups, COVID, and she gave me joy, like when I got her, I had to think about the things that I have to do for something else other than myself. And one of the things I had to do is to feed her, to be there for her, to scoop up her little poop in the sandbox, those sort of things. And it taught me
Sure.
the responsibility of, a human being, a grown up, and I love her, I really did. Um, I keep saying like, oh yeah, I could never love anything the way that I used to love her, and I think it's true. Like I feel like with everything that behind her, like everything that I had behind her, I just still didn't feel the way that I used to feel with her, which says a
I
lot.
see.
Um, so
So
anyway,
I lose
um,
out to a cat. Edward is higher in the hierarchy than me. I get it.
sorry, buddy, know your place.
This was a rude awakening. This is going to be probably the last episode of our podcast.
But yeah, so it went like that for like about 2 years, three. And there was an accident, and I think you know the story very well. I mean, I remember you were the first one that called me. It was like 2 in the morning. I remember that.
Really? I was that considerate?
Well, I mean, you were in
Man,
Canada,
that's a surprise.
so it was you were in Canada, so it was like 2 p.m. So no big deal, you know?
I barely remember your birthday, but sure. Um,
But yeah, I had that sort of memory. I was definitely heartbroken when I found out about the accident. And I remember I text you on WhatsApp, and you called me immediately right after. You didn't say much. You just kind of sat there. That's
like,
right.
cheer up, Ethan. Get over it. See ya.
I believe you were the first one to call. So yeah, I lost her, and um, in many ways, I still haven't gotten over it. I mean, sometimes I still dream about her. Sometimes I look over the windows and I still think of her, and it just shaped me into this sort of a very different person. I had to learn how to be without her, and it was certainly very difficult. And I'm still doing that. Like, I'm still learning how to cope with it. And I guess that's just a part of life, you know. You win some, you lose some, and I think that's the cost of love. You know, you love something, there's a risk that it will break your heart. I just didn't expect that it will come from a cat. You know, I expect it would be like a smoking hot lady that I dated or something, but no, it's just some cat. Well, she wasn't
I
just some
see.
cat, but yeah, but you know what I mean. Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah. I get it.
I'm done.
So is it my turn to share or?
Go
Oh,
ahead. I'm done. All right, go ahead.
um,
It's my turn to make
I
fun of
had
you.
a very cool cat too.
Mhm.
His name was Etoile, which means star in French.
Shut up.
Also starts with E. He was very handsome, very strong, and he killed squirrels. I remember one time I was walking in the front lawn, and there was like this decapitated squirrel. It was kind of gross, but I also felt a bit of pride. And anyway, he always like brought dead things to the door and tried to like bring them in the house. So he was a generous cat too. He was very gray, and he could camouflage in the bushes. And yeah, I had him when I was very young, and I think he died at the age of around 11 or 12.
Mhm.
He was also very smart, just like his owner. He could open doors,
Sure.
and he could open faucets and drink
Mhm.
out of them.
Mhm.
And he was very, very handsome for a cat.
Sure.
But unlike his owner, he was like a womanizer. He roamed around the block, found very attractive women and girls, and got food from them. And yeah, that was kind of his life. He just roamed around, getting food and killing animals.
Mhm.
And he was also kind of a bit arrogant. Like he'd be around the house
Mhm.
and he'd think he was like hot stuff. But ever so often he showed his like more emotional, kind of kinder side to him. And he was very, very furry, which was kind of nice because, like, there's some cats that have short hair and kind of look like twinks. Like they're very, very thin.
Okay.
But this cat, he was the big, meaty. He wasn't fat, but he was just big, meaty, and very, very furry. And so he'd be cool. He was really nice holding him. But he didn't like being held. The only way you could hold him was if you like wrapped your arm around the front, and then he would put his paws, so his 4 paws, on your hand. So you would stand on your hand, and then you'd hold him. You kind of give him like a hug with the other arm.
Hug, yeah.
And you'd just like hang out on your hand. Now it's quite heavy holding him, but that was the only way he liked being held. And he did like being massaged, but he didn't like being massaged too long. So anyway, he was a cool cat, and we hung out a lot. Saw him like a brother. And anyway, he eventually died, and I'll go into the gruesome details for you so that all you gore fans, well, actually it wasn't very gory, but all you fans who like the details can hear about it. So I was happily on my computer watching YouTube. And unfortunately, Etoile at the time was a bit sick. So he was meowing. And usually when he meows, it means that he wants the water turned on. So I left the computer, turned on the faucet, and he started to drink. And then I went back and went onto the computer again to watch YouTube.
Sure.
And he's such a good cat that, like, when he's done drinking, he'll meow to let you know that he's done drinking and to turn off the tap. He's a very eco-friendly cat. Anyway, so I'm listening, and instead of hearing meowing sounds, I hear coughing sounds. So I walk out, and he's choking.
Oh, shit.
And of course, yeah, it was quite a, like, wow, holy shit, my cat's choking.
Yeah.
So the first thing I thought of, like, in split second is, do I call 911 for, like, a choking cat?
Okay.
Or, like, is there a special, person I call for a choking cat?
Yeah.
And then eventually I thought to myself, okay, I'm just going to do J-pump on him.
Okay.
But as soon as I got to that thought process and kind of went over, he unfortunately hit the bucket and passed away.
Oh, no.
And he was in my arms as he passed away. So I actually saw the pupils.
Oh, no.
I don't think it's dilate, but it expand and become starry. And it was kind of a shock because I actually saw the moment he died, right? It's not like your situation where I don't think you ever actually saw your cat die. For me, I actually saw him like choking and then eventually pass away. So I called a whole bunch of people at the time to let them know one of them was my dad. And my dad was so sad that when he came home, he just fell to the floor and he was just really, really, really sad about it. But for me, I had still, over to the other one. Say something, Ethan.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Don't worry.
I can't hear.
Oh, crap.
Oh, I can hear you now. Okay. So something bad happens, it takes a while for it to finally hit in. Like, it's a delayed reaction. So I feel like instead of like being like my dad and just like collapsing to the ground in sorrow, it just gradually ate away at me. But yeah, it's surprising because he was a very, very close cat, and then, like, again, I saw him like a little brother in some ways. But like, there's times where I'm just like, I'm off doing something, and I think to myself, oh yeah, Etoile's not around anymore. Like, he's dead. And it's still like you don't fully realize the fact that, hey, yeah, there's this important member of the family who's just missing. It's not like I believe that he's still alive or anything, but it's just kind of like, it's surprising when you think, oh yeah, there was that very important person who was, not a person but a cat, was there always by your side, and now it's just gone, right? So it's not like a necessarily really sad feeling, but it's just like this surprising feeling where you're like, that important thing that used to be in your life is now just gone. Yeah, that's my cat story.
To be honest, that was a really good story. I feel like I could have told my story a little bit better. But
No worries. We understood. There was a scraggly looking cat named Edward, hung out with you, and then eventually passed away.
She wasn't a very outdoorsy cat. She was indoor most of her life. Well, at least in the time that she was with me, she would just stay in my apartment. I had like a giant window that would face west, so around like 4 p.m. or so, where the sun sets, I remember she would like hop on my table, my desk basically, and she would just lie there and bother me. When you mentioned like cockroaches and stuff, or the squirrels, I just remember that she used to do that also, Edward. We didn't have anything for her to kill, so the first thing that she killed was my couch.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds. I was hoping like the first thing she killed was you. Just like one day she's like, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna take this guy out and eat him. That would be pretty. That would be pretty epic.
Truly.
Apparently cats are one of the first. So if their owner dies and they're stuck in the room,
Yeah.
they're one of the first like types of animals that would straight away just go for the jugular and start to eat their owner.
I wouldn't mind.
Whereas like a dog, like they would wait for a few days and then they would finally get desperate enough to eat it. A cat would just right away, okay, he's dead. I'm hungry.
Who would
I eat this.
do research on that? Like, how do you like get like a conclusion that, oh yeah, dog eats people after a few days? Like how do you get that data?
I guess you're right. You'd have to be a real like kind of like strange person to be like thinking, I wonder which pet is like the most like disloyal when it comes to like their dead owner.
Exactly. Like how do you? And I feel like I feel like cats get the bad rap. I don't know. There may be like other.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
How would you test that?
Yeah, I know.
Like, did this person like just kill a whole bunch of people, put them in a room like with their pets, and like just monitor them and be like, I knew that cats were the ones who would like eat the human the first.
Maybe the villain isn't the cat. Maybe the villain is the guy that wrote that paper.
Mm-hmm.
I was.
Shall we get on to our next topic? Or
next topic? Well, I was gonna have following of questions like so.
Oh, I see.
So
Ask away.
You mentioned your dad was very sad. I was surprised because I guess I never had the chance to hear or see him getting that sort of emotional over something. How did it feel like for you seeing him like that? Because like I know you guys are not that close when it comes to like emotional stuff. So like, was it any moment in time that he brought it up and you guys bond over it, or like tell me your experience? Yeah.
Not really. He just was very, very sad.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, yeah. Fair play. I understand. Like he had to feed the cat. Well, I fed the cat too, but he fed the cat. I fed the cat. And now we can't feed the cat anymore.
So why didn't you get another cat?
Tragedy. Well, it's kind of like, let's say Ethan dies and then I get another Ethan. I think you'd feel a little disrespect.
But that's true.
Okay, let me put it better. Let's say you die,
Okay.
and then I get a new like friend for two monkeys on a microphone. We just act as if there was never Ethan. That actually might be a good idea. Maybe I should look into like, how about if you tell me the password for the YouTube account, and maybe we can upgrade things a little.
To be honest, I couldn't give two shit if you bring up another guy because I swear to God, you wouldn't be able to find another Ethan, no matter how hard you try. Try to look for
Don't
someone.
tempt me. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
No, no, no,
I'll be
no.
like,
Try to look for an Ethan that is goofy, long hair, Asian, and and is willing to be a punching bag for you. I don't think so. That Ethan will probably kill you at night, He'll wake up, he'll go to your place, he'll strangle you with his own hands because of the shit that you throw at him.
hair. Long hair.
The evil Ethan.
Evil Ethan. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure at some point you'll have enough of me and come over with your long hair and strangle me. But for now, I'm just gonna have fun on this podcast.
Okay, so you mentioned the other topic. What was the other topic? Because I was hoping for a smoother transition, but I mentioned it.
Okay. Well, it is kind of like as much as we like joking around, it is more of a serious one. So I'm not gonna do a nice joke
Sure.
transition, but
Sure.
both of our grandparents are getting older. In fact, I don't think you have a grandfather anymore.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, quite recently, your grandmother also passed away. So maybe you can share a bit about that, and then I can share. Luckily, I still have my two grandparents on my parents' side, but they are getting older. So I'll share kind of a bit about that.
Well,
But let's first go with you.
I feel like you should start first.
Okay, sure. I can do that.
Yeah, mainly because you. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
My grandmother is getting older. She's the same grandmother who was on one of the episodes of our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, she's bedridden right now.
Oh no.
And things are not looking good. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but of course, that's very hard on my grandfather, and that's very hard on my Ottawa family. So I have my cousin, my aunt, well, my two cousins and my aunt, my cousin's husband and her kids who are over there. And I think because they are over there, it's definitely different from me, who's in China and kind of a bit detached. But it's very hard on them, and it's also hard on me because I'm always working. It's not like it can always, it's not like I'm always thinking about it. But definitely every weekend, I begin to thinking, oh, it's kind of like the cat. There's this person who you think is who's been always there and who's kind of almost seemed guaranteed that they'd be there for a decent amount of time, and suddenly you realize, things might be ending sooner than you thought, and I think that's pretty hard, and it's not like something you can easily deal with, especially because again it just kind of comes out of the blue. One day, this Christmas we're all together, and it didn't seem like anything was amiss. But then just a few months later, things suddenly turn the other way around. So yeah, it's difficult. Unfortunately, there's not too much I can share about it, other than the fact that hopefully she'll recover. It's kind of like, so essentially what happened was she had kind of cancer on her leg, and she got treatment for it. But because of that, she's become very, very weak. So that's kind of my story. Now your story, Ethan.
Well, I mean, before I go into my story, I just spent a quick moment to tell you that I can only imagine how difficult it is for you and your family. Well, I don't know Philip very well compared to you, as you being his son, and I didn't spend that much time around him to know like how he'll react to this sort of stuff. But like I can tell it's very difficult for you and everyone involved. And I just hope that you guys manage to pull through and you have my best wishes all the time. Um, I guess my story it's a little bit similar in some way because my grandmother lived like she lived very far away from me, and when she was sick, I had the privilege of being away from all of the drama, all of the painful experience that come with losing a parent. It didn't affect me as much, but it came as a shocker when I found out. I think I was at work and my mom just sent me a very simple message that, hey, she passed away at 4 p.m. And I, remember how you told me about your cat, Etoile? Is it actually named Etoile?
Yeah, it's star in English, but in French it's called étoile.
Okay, well, sorry for my terrible French pronunciation.
Don't worry, don't worry.
It's just anyway. Like when you mentioned your cat and how you mentioned that, it's sort of like ate you away, down the line. I feel like with grandparents, that's the case for me. I mean, I remember when my grandfather passed away. I was playing basketball in the field with the boys, and I didn't feel much until 2 years later. I came back home, like back to my hometown. I just realized that he wasn't there anymore. It's such a strange feeling because he was always the guy that would pick me and my mom up. He would run around the garden and pick coconut juice for both of us. He would play chess with me, although to be honest, he kind of sucked at it. I beat him up every time, won every time, but for grand.
Yes, yes, yeah, I can relate to his pain.
But no, but like he was the reason why I wanted to play chess because I didn't understand Chinese chess. I just liked chess better, and I convinced him to play with me. And I guess he had a really great time spending it with his grandchildren. I guess because well we played that a lot, and I played chess because of him. I think every time I play chess, I just miss him a little. So I'm not that big of a fan when it comes to chess, to be honest. It's just that I miss him.
It
Um,
would be funny if all this time
mhm.
he was like secretly really, really good at chess. But he was like, my grandchild, he needs to feel confident about something in his life. So at the very least, I'll make him think that he's really good at chess. When in reality, this guy is like dog water.
Dog walk. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Grandfather, you up there, God bless you, I know you're up in heaven laughing in my face right now, but um, well, with my grandmother, I can't say the same thing because we weren't really close. I didn't have any particular memory with her, but I can feel how big of a impact that the fact that she passed away on my mom. Um, so yeah, it's certainly difficult for a lot of people involved. Um, and it's the strange feeling, like in some way, it's gonna change who you are. It's gonna make an impact on your life, and you have to sit down and reconsider the things that you're doing right now, whether it's true or like whether it's a right thing to do or not. Like for example, like I didn't spend a lot of time with my grandparents, and now they're all gone. Now I have something to think about, that will wake me up at night. Um, and it makes you realize that how precious life can be and how fast it could just quickly go away, you know. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a strange feeling. So coming back to your grandparents, I sure hope that everyone will be okay in the end, and especially to Mark. I can only imagine how devastating it is to, see Susan like that. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's kind of surprising, and I think with you and me,
mm,
also our parents are getting older, um, which is kind of weird because yeah, it's kind of like wow, my parents look yeah the your whole life you're like always looking up to your parents and you're like wow
mm,
they're like you know they're so responsible um they always know what to do
mm,
they're strong
mm,
they're capable
mm,
and I'm not saying that they're not that right now but you definitely realize that just like what's happening to our grandparents right now, there is
mm,
going to be a point in time
mm,
when that's going to also happen to our parents.
mm. And no one teaches you about it, right? No one like no one talks about like, hey, one day you lose your parents. It's not something that you hear in school. It's not something that you talk to friends about. And it's kind of ironic because it's probably the big or one of the things that you have to go through at some point in life, and no one prepares you for it. Like, where do you go to learn about it? Like, you can't just go like, oh, hey, I need a course in like how to get over my dead mom. Where do you go and do that? You know? Um, so it's certainly devastating. But it's also kind of weird that we don't talk about it enough. Like people would just expect you to go, oh yeah, Ethan, dead grandparent, cool. See you on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially because these are the people who are really, if things go wrong or even when things are right, they're always there for you and they're always like behind you.
Hmm.
And then one day you kind of wake up and they're no longer there. They're no longer behind you.
Hmm.
And they're no longer supporting you.
Hmm.
And it's just you
It's
alone
just
in the world. So
yeah.
hopefully that day doesn't come anytime soon, but
Hmm.
but it is definitely a wake up call. And yeah, we can just hope that the people around us stay healthy, they stay active, and that they're around for as long as possible. But
Yeah.
um, the world can be a strange place with how quickly time passes and how unexpected events just pop out of nowhere.
Yeah. And well, I guess it's sort of a nice transition to the end here, but how would you what will you change, knowing all of this, knowing that
My life,
yeah, like with you knowing that some things will disappear one day. Like, would you do something
I
different?
think one thing is that work isn't everything. I really like to believe that having a job, working is important, but you can't make that the center of your life because if you just focus on work all the time, all these amazing things that you can do, or even the amazing people around you, will
Hmm.
slowly pass you by. And even if you're very, very rich in your kind of when you're 50 or 60,
Hmm.
there's no point to having a lot of money when you have no one around you and let's say if you're out of shape
Hmm.
kind of you have a whole bunch of health issues and things like that. So I think it's important to recognize that working is important,
Hmm.
but you also always have to think back to your friends, your family,
Hmm.
and the opportunities you have when you're young.
Hmm. I like to think that, um, when you said wake up call, it was actually the keyword I was looking for. I think um, I didn't really pay attention much, to be honest, when it comes to family, because I wasn't really close to them. Um, but time changed, I change, and I feel like that would become a really good basis for me to try and really connect with them and collect memories and create something that is worth remembering that lasts longer than, last longer than they can, I guess. That's yeah, because like now I think of my grandparents, I like especially my grandmother, I just cannot think of a good memory to think of her, and I think that's a shame. So I guess that's what I want to change. I want to have more memories, especially to my mom. She wasn't always there for me, but I feel like every success that I ever had in my life all can contribute. Well, it all connected to her, if that makes sense. So I feel like I should do a better job of recognizing that and tell her more about it. But yeah, that's my take on it.
Sounds cool. So with that said, I think this ends off our podcast. I just have one last question for you before we end things off, Ethan.
Sure. Do not hang up, you
Uh,
son of a bitch.
what do you plan to do with your girlfriend today?
Shut up.